Welcome to the podcast She is Fab, where we discuss all things fab, women empowerment, and life coaching. My name is Evelyn, also known as the Fab Chieftess, and I am a mindset transformation coach. Welcome to another episode of the She is Fab podcast. My name is Evelyn, your host, mindset transformation coach. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by Jessica Soares. She is an empowerment and self-sovereignty coach specializing in helping strong, independent women overcome the fear of being too much and the fear of success. She believes that dance floors, moonlight, and magic mushrooms are medicine. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me, Evelyn. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. And just so you guys know that are listening or watching, we were laughing a storm before starting this, so the energy is already pretty good.
Yeah, we're already like up here. Feels great. It feels great. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy that you're here as well. So tell us about you. Tell us about the magical person that you are and what you do.
Oh, yes, I would love to. So, like Evelyn said, I am an empowerment and self-sovereignty coach. I'm also an actor and a writer and a filmmaker and a tarot reader. I am a very typical millennial multi-hyphenate. I am primarily a coach, though. And I have been, I would say, slightly rebellious since I was born, right? I've always really loved questioning the status quo and asking why not. And I've always been a very big personality, a big presence, outspoken, emotional, sensitive, all those things that compounded when I was younger came across as too much, right? And it really developed into this sense and this fear of being too much, of taking up too much space. And it wasn't until I began my own personal development, quote unquote, healing journey that never really ends, that I realized how much that idea, that core wound was manifesting in my life and the different ways that it was keeping me small and keeping me from living the life that I damn well wanted to live, right? Like we have all these shoulds and shouldn'ts, all the rules that we're given from the moment we're born. We're assigned all of these things and told a way to behave. And I already never liked that. But as I started getting older, it became more, such like a call. I'm like, why? I see all these amazing, incredible, strong women around me. And so many of them are walking around disempowered and not connected to their own truth, not living the life that they want to live, right? Living the life that they think they should live or the life that someone else told them to live. And so, yeah, that's like a big part of why I do what I do, because I believe that ultimately the world will become a better place when we are all doing exactly what we came here to do, and when we're being exactly who we came here to be, no matter if that looks very different from your best friend or your mom or your teacher, and just like embracing and accepting and loving that about ourselves.
That is so important. So what was the catalyst for you to go into coaching? Because I'm sure you mentioned a couple of things that you did, but I'm sure that wasn't the first thing you had in mind in terms of career pursuit.
No, and it still isn't the only one, right? Like I also think this idea that we have to tether ourselves to one thing is so like old age, let's say. It is no longer in line with the age of Aquarius. For me, the catalyst was really, I've always sort of played the advice giver role in my community, in my circles. When I was in third grade, I set up a little booth on the playground called Ask Jessica, where people could come and get advice, because people were always asking me for advice. And I had the audacity to think that I could tell them how they could fix their life. So that was little third grade me. And that always just like sort of was a part of who I was. And I worked at a meditation studio for a long time. So I've been working in the wellness world. And then it so happened that like I had a therapist, I had a coach, and I decided to get a coaching certification for my own deeper personal development, right? Like the way a lot of people go into yoga teacher training. It was for my own, like, okay, I want to know myself more deeply. And then obviously at the back of my head, there was that niggle that's like, maybe one day this is something that I want to do. And then I had like one person be like, oh my God, you should be a life coach. And then another person, then my oldest and best friend, who's known me since I was 3, was like, Jess, you really should look into life coaching. Cause I think, you're a natural at it and people could benefit from it. I was like, okay. So I did the certification and I never finished, right? Those little ways that we hold ourselves back. I had like a little way to go. And then I had come back to Cabo Verde from New York just to sort of dump my stuff at home and go backpacking. And 2 weeks before I was set to go, the world came to a shutdown. And I was like, okay, I have all this time on my hand. What am I going to do now? And so I finished my certification program along with a whole bunch of other courses that I took. I was one of those people that like gobbled up further education in the beginning of the lockdown. And then last June, July, I launched my practice. And it was an immediate, like I think within 1 week of announcing, I had like multiple people reach out, and it felt like such an affirmation from the universe, just being like, yeah, this is absolutely what you're supposed to do. And since then I've been learning and growing and coaching, and I really, really love it. And it's something that feels so in alignment. But that was really the catalyst. Like, if I'm being honest, was time. I had the time and the space.
That's what's so interesting about, COVID. COVID has affected people in so many different ways. But for some folks like you and I, it was actually an opportunity to absorb more knowledge, so to speak, right? Or to finish things that you might have started. I, like you, I'm a multitasker.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have so much like that I'm doing that I don't quite finish. And so I have to make sure I consciously put the effort in to close those things out. And like you, what drove me to coaching, I've always been that person who, again, would just open up to and talk to. I could be at like the mall at Target and I'm just like saying, hi, how's your day? Just starting, simple conversation. Next thing you know, I'm getting all the 411 and I'm just like, are you sure you want to share that with me?
You're like, okay, cool, sure.
And then like you, friends were like, you should be a coach, or you should be a therapist, you should be a psychologist. And I'm just like, But eventually I gave in around 2 years ago. So for me, it's always so inspiring when I hear other coaches' story of like what drove them, was their catalyst to get them to work in this way.
Yeah, I've always been interested in human behavior. My undergraduate, which I did at NYU, my colloquium was the intersection of performance and psychoanalytic theory. So I had a background already in psych. And as an actor, you really need to know how people think, why they think, like what motivates them. And I've always just been fascinated by people, right? And their behavior. And there's a part of me that loves humanity. There's a part of me that hates it. There's a part of me that's straight up like, how did we get ourselves into this mess on this planet? Like, could have been living on this gorgeous heaven on earth, naked, running around, drinking wine. But no, we live in like these boxy concrete like jungles and have to go to work all day. How did we get here?
She said naked, right? Naked. Are you sure you want to see everyone naked?
No. To be fair, I probably don't want to see everybody naked. But I would like the freedom to be naked if I want to be naked.
I can understand that. No comment.
But like, in so many ways, I feel like we've come so far from our nature, like our true nature. And in so many ways, we've needed to develop, right? Like development and evolution has given us so much. So it's that thing that's, it's not, either or, it's both and. Again, it's like we're gaining so much, we're losing stuff, and that's the balance of being here on this planet.
This just brought something to mind for me that I'm going to ask you. So I'm from the Caribbean. My family's from the Caribbean, Dominican Republic to be specific. And I feel that I'm drawn to water often. I'm drawn to nature often. And I'm not sure if that's because we're from the Caribbean. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think you're from Cape Verde too, right?
Yeah. My mom's side of the family and my dad is Mozambican, so also a coastal country. I was born in Portugal, coastal country. I think that it does have an impact for sure on, like there are some people that are like, oh my God, I'm just so drawn to like the cold forest mountain. And I'm like, yeah, like maybe I'll go for like 2 weeks, but like, you're not going to go see me like go live in the woods. That's just like not my vibe. but it's just like not in me, right? Like it's not in my ancestral DNA. However, there are also places that we connect to, I think, from different lifetimes, right? And different existences, that like maybe you're just called to a place because you've had a different time there, or you're just called there because you're called there. But I do think there is something like I'm also from an island, so being near water is so essential for me. Like yesterday, I woke up feeling sick, and I was like, okay, I need to go to the beach. I need to go like be with Mama Ocean and just like cleanse a little bit. Like I went for 5 minutes, took a dip, swam around for 5 minutes, and left. Like I was like, I just need to like
just a quick recharge.
Yeah, exactly, because it does feel like recharging my batteries. And I think nature in general is such potent medicine, right? And now science is obviously catching up to that as well, and people are being recommended to go spend time in nature and go like lay in the grass. People have earthing practices to reconnect with the earth, and I think it is really powerful, and that's maybe some of what we've lost a little bit in becoming more civilized, is that connection and just time in nature. You know, like we spend all these times in like apartments and concrete blocks and glass buildings for a lot of people, right? Not everybody, but for a lot of people, if you're in urban centers, and it begs that question, like what are we missing out by not, you know, being in communion with the trees and the mud and the butterflies every day?
Yeah, it's pretty important. Like my story's a little bit different than yours about going to the beach, because like I told you, beaches here are pretty cold. So I'll go there, and then I'll sadly look at the water because I can't go in. But I get to enjoy, you know, the air and the scent of the ocean, which I love, and you know, the sand between my feet. But to take it back to your point about us having lost touch with nature, I find that I need to. It's part of the service of self-care for me. So I'm just curious, you know, if you felt the same way, and if that was somehow driven because of our background or cultural background, right, where we're from.
Yeah, I think it has to be. I think it's connected, at least. Like similar to you, my standard for beaches is very high. Like if I go, so I'm like, listen, this is not a beach. Like the East, I lived in New York. People like, let's go to the beach. I'm like, oh, all right. Like let's go to the Rockaways. Sure.
But did you ever go to Manhattan Beach?
No.
It's called Manhattan Beach, but it's not in Manhattan.
It's not Manhattan. Yeah. I know of it. Never went. No. All of those beaches.
It's the only one I liked.
But I'm just like, it's not the same. Like I'm very used to like warm, tropical, clear blue waters kind of beaches.
I've been seeing on my social feed people posting about like the beaches up there, and I'm just like, why are you doing this to me? I can't go.
You're like, I'm going to sit here on my cold beach and just like look at it and absorb it.
So talking about nature, you know, you've mentioned how you feel that we need to be in touch with, or that as a society, as people, we've lost touch with nature. Do you incorporate that in your program in any way? Because I feel like you are a holistic coach as well. Like you're not just empowerment and sovereignty. I feel like there's more to it.
Yeah. It's, you know, we use these labels because it's easier for people to identify, right? And you'll know this, like any type of coach, you're gonna touch on all aspects of someone's life, right? Because everything is so intertwined. And for me, it really is like a holistic approach, right? Like empowerment is so important, but embodiment is probably the basis of all my work. Like we need to come back to the body. And so much of what the body needs is that connection with nature, right? It's not something right now that I incorporate in all of my programs because we're all like digital. It's like recommendations that I make to people depending on what they're going through. In the long term, I plan to host more retreats than anything, because that is a really big component for me. It's like we gain so much just by being out with Mother Earth, right? Like there are people's lives change when they go on these like hikes and treks and climbs and experiences, because there is something so potent about just the power of nature. So I do think it's something that, you know, if a client is sort of struggling with reconnecting with their body, I'll suggest like go reconnect with nature first, right? Like sometimes that might be easier. it's a gentler approach into that more natural aspect of existence. Go spend some time in nature. Maybe walk on the sand barefoot, go hug a tree, go like climb a mountain, go on a hike. I had a horrible hike last year up a volcano and I almost died. Aside. But yes, don't almost die on a hike, but do that. And I think it's a great way to just come back into touch with ourselves, like leave the phone at home or take like 3 pictures at the beginning, 3 pictures at the end, put the phone away for the rest of the time and just be like, ooh, what can I learn from nature right now? Because there's so much to learn from the world around us.
You made a good point there regarding technology. We're all victim to it. We'll go somewhere and we're not always fully present. We have our phones out for the IG pic or the Snapchat, or if you're a YouTuber, you're trying to, gather content. But it's important to set aside time to actually be present, be in the moment, and absorb what is happening.
Yeah, it's so important. And it's so hard. Like, let's be honest. These have become extensions. That's like, I'm recording it. It's on the table. It's face down on silent, but it's on the table in front of me, right? Like I'm aware of where my device is. They've become extensions of how we operate. And it's so important to sort of bring that intentionality and know how you relate to it, right? Because some people get social media can put them in a really negative space. Some people can feel really empowered by it. Some people feel safe by knowing that emergency services are a call away. We didn't have that luxury 20 years ago, right? Like, there are benefits and there are detriments, but it is, like you said, the intentionality and the presence, like choosing when, setting some boundaries around your time.
I'm gonna call myself out here for those that don't know my age. But I grew up where there were no cell phones. Touch wasn't a thing. There was no social media. I got my first computer when I was in my 20s. So,
oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I know what it's like to be without. I remember what it was like and how people engaged versus how people engage and interact nowadays. So for me, I'm okay with leaving the phone, putting it away for a period and going away for a weekend and, having it off or not having reception, doesn't freak me out. But for folks who grew up with technology, with, that ease, it is a lot more difficult to detach.
It is. And I mean, not having reception is amazing, honestly. Like, it's one of those things that's like, wait, like, I just have no excuse. This is great. Like, I'm just off the grid. But I remember, do you remember when dial-up became a thing and the sound of like dial-up internet? I think about that all the time, of just that like sound of the internet connecting and me like trying to use the internet and be like, Jay, did you pick up the phone? To my big brother.
Get off the phone. I'm trying to get on the internet. Getting the AOL freaking cards every month.
Yes. And it's crazy. And I think because I grew up in Ethiopia, like for my age and for a lot of my peers, I got into the digital space a little later, right? Like, we probably got internet when I was like 11, 10, 11. And until that, we just didn't have internet. Like, we did not live with internet. Now I'm like, what was life before internet? But no, we were fine. We lived, we like functioned, we didn't have internet. But yeah, and now it's like my little sister has never not known a world without smart devices. Like, she wouldn't even be able to conceptualize that. She's like, you what?
Yeah, that's what I'm just like, if only you knew what it was like before. But you know what? I actually appreciate and am more so fond of what it was like before, because I feel like you had to go out there to engage, to socialize, to know what's happening in the world, versus now it's like it's at your fingertips. So there's less effort, which means you're gonna find an excuse to not go out there and engage because it's right there in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, there's again, that balance. We've gained and lost. That it's just like, the eternal dance, I think, of development. And it's just going to keep being like that as we go further and further, because technology is not slowing down at all.
Just going to get better, hopefully.
Hopefully. I don't know where we're going. I'm like, I literally can't conceptualize what's going to be around in 20 years.
Well, I have to say, back in the day, I never thought we'd be where we are today. And there are days where I will sit and I'll just be like, wow, this is so amazing. Like all the stuff that I have access to.
Yeah.
Because, we take a lot of things for granted, even like the things that make our life easier. So I do take moments where I'm just like really just in awe of how things work. Right. Obviously, I'm not an expert in everything, so I can't tell you how a mobile device actually works, how things
it's
are
all magic,
what the technology,
It's all magic.
But it's amazing. And it lets us do our job, right? In a state of COVID where we can't interface with our clients, like it is such a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's opened up the world, right? It's opened up the world and it's shrunk the world. Because now, like you said, jobs, connections with people are no longer limited by geography, by borders. That's not a thing anymore because we can connect instantly. I don't know how we're talking right now, but it's happening. Like I said, to me, it's all magic. And access to information, right? Like we can arguably the huge civil rights movement that happened last year would not have happened without social media, right?
Yes.
Wouldn't have happened. The immediacy of information, the transparency, and the truth is harder to hide now. At the same time, the truth is easier to manipulate now because of the technology that we have. So it's just like, again, that we're gaining and losing. We're gaining and losing. But yeah, it enables us to do our job. And for that, I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I'm grateful as well. Again, it's letting us have this conversation and this connection. So going back to, you talked about retreats. So in your coaching practice, have you had retreats before, or is this the first time that you're planning to have a retreat?
Yeah, no, I'm planning to have a first one. I worked in event production in New York for a long time, and I've gone to retreats. But I'm actually planning my first one for this year. It hasn't been announced yet. Well, it hasn't been announced yet.
Okay, so we'll wait.
Yeah, we'll wait for, more details to come out. It all really depends on the vaccine rollout and COVID travel restrictions and all of that, right? Like, it's still hard to plan. It's still hard to plan things.
I feel you on that. There's so many people who want to, schedule retreats, or even for those that are in part of the coaching institutions where they have retreats throughout the year. It's just like, we have to wait and see how things play out. But I am itching to do some travel. So hopefully in the fall, things will be better.
I'm ready to go. I'm like, bags packed. Like someone's like, you can go. I'm like, ready, on a plane. Take me somewhere.
Oh, well, that's another thing too, that I love connecting with people that are like across the world, because if you develop really good friendship, it's like, hey, I'm coming over.
Like, hello. Do you have a place for me to stay? Yes, absolutely.
I love it. So tell us about your coaching program, right?
Yeah.
Is it a new program that you're launching? Is it an existing program?
So I work with clients one-on-one. That's an existing thing. And I have a digital course called Becoming Brilliant: How to Overcome the Fear of Success, which is a self-paced, self-guided course. It's, I think, like 7-8 modules for a total of like 2 hours. So it's really like a mini course, but it's a great introduction into my work, right? And now I did just launch my group program called Unchained and Untamed. And we start at the end of April, and it's amazing. Like the response has been wonderful. And it is really holistic, right? Like I don't even, like I struggle to call it a group coaching container because it's more than just that. It incorporates a lot of my like spiritual practices. A lot of my performance background is coming in. Like we're going to do some like performance-based activities. And it's 10 women, and we go through my coaching framework, which is 3 steps, which is clarity, alchemy, and embodiment. And it's the same 3 steps I take my private clients through, but we're going to do it in a group, which I think is, there's like such magic in group work. And yeah, I'm super duper excited about it. It's really to help. It's directed towards strong, passionate, independent women like me and you who are aspiring change makers, right? Like people who are driven to impact the world in some kind of positive way, whether that's helping people with their mental health or their emotional regulation. We have healers and breathwork teachers. We have sensual dance instructors in the program, people who want to birth like incredible businesses, who want to like shake things up a little bit, but are getting stuck in that from like, oh, I want to, into like, I'm doing it, right? Because there is such a chasm between wanting it, planning it, dreaming it, and then actually actioning it, birthing it, being it, living it. And so we're all going to get there together. And I'm so, so excited. I've never created anything more magical in my life. And I've been creating.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
I mean, I've seen, obviously, in following on social media, I've seen mentions of the program, on Facebook, on IG, which for me, when I see other coaches putting stuff out there that I know is going to be impactful and just help people, I get so excited for them. I'm all about support, right? This is not competition.
Yes.
There's enough for everybody. So support and uplift your sisters.
Yeah. It's so important. It's so important. We talked about that before. Like, I'm like, so not about the like competition mindset, because it's an energetic thing. Like people who like, it's not even, it's beyond that. There's like more than enough, right? Like that's not to say that someone who works with you can't work with me or would want to work with both, like it's such a like silly little mindset trap I think we've gotten ourselves into, that sense of competition and scarcity.
Scarcity, that's a key word right there. When you're always thinking about what you're lacking and scarcity, you're attracting more of that lack.
Yeah, and you're operating from that place, right? Like if you think there isn't enough, then you're gonna behave in a way that's rooted in fear rather than one that's rooted in love and trust and empowerment.
So tell us a little more about your program that you launched. It starts April. How many folks are you allowing to come into the program?
10. I'm keeping it really intimate because of the nature. There's in the alchemy portion, which is the longest portion, we spend a big time going into shadow work and integration, which is sort of a lot of where I live and a lot of the work that I do, because I believe that in a lot of the wellness world, especially when people are like coming in, right? Like self-care, personal development 101, it can be easy to bypass all the like shadow stuff, the scary shit that like we don't necessarily want to come face to face with. And I think that that's really where the magic lies, right? Like in the things that people hide from other people because they're ashamed of. I think that's where their beauty is. And it's about like loving that part and accepting that part of ourselves just as much as the outward part that we do showcase towards the world. And because of that, I do want to keep it intimate, right? Like 10 people live, not pre-recorded, because I want there to be a sense of just that like energy and community. 6 of the spots are actually already gone as of this morning. So that's really exciting for me. And it starts, as well as the 12 weeks, it's weekly calls. I also have 3 liberated lady parties, I call them. They're going to be like monthly, where it's going to be more like social based, where people can come and like have that aspect of community and sisterhood, which I also think is so healing, right? Like women supporting women, connecting with women, that in itself is it's such medicine. And it goes against that idea that we're taught of like catty women or like, I'm not like other girls and all those things. No, I want to be like those other girls because they're amazing. And fostering some of that. So that's a part of it. There's 10 days of pre-work, a whole daily journal, a worksheet. Like I've literally poured my like heart and soul into this program. So I'm really excited about it. And I'm sure I'm going to be offering it again and again. But this is the inaugural launch. So it has like a very, very, very discounted price.
Yeah. So you guys heard it here. She is launching her program April 1st, 10 spots, but 6 are already filled. So only 4 spots available. Although by the time that this podcast airs, it'll probably be like mid to end of your program.
So you can hear about it for the next time around.
Yeah, so you can sign up the next time around. How long is the program?
It is 12 weeks.
12 weeks, okay.
Yeah, 12 weeks, weekly calls with 10 days of pre-work. So
Yeah, so you get to be preemptive, prepare for the
yes.
program before you
Yeah.
dive in.
Yes. Get on that wait list. I will be having wait lists for the next time around.
Yes. And we're going to put obviously all of her details, in the podcast details and the YouTube details. As I always tell you guys, follow, subscribe, comment, support, right? Because you never know what you will get out of it, right? Whether it's going to benefit you or benefit somebody else that will be touched by the connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for giving me that space to share.
Of course, you're welcome. Again, it's all about empowerment. We want you to share what you're doing and what you have coming up so folks can actually connect and find you if they haven't already.
Yeah. Come find me, y'all. I'm very accessible. I love to chat.
And she's great. If you're not watching the YouTube and you're listening, go to the YouTube because the energy is amazing. I fully believe that you can feel somebody's energy and vibe even remotely.
Oh, yes. I think so, for sure. No, we've all been in those meetings. I know some of the listeners have been in those meetings during this time when you're just like, oh my gosh, this energy is slowly killing me of this meeting. Why did I get out of bed to be present in this meeting? And this is not that. We have great energy. So,
This is why sometimes, depending on what the call is, like if it's a group thing, I will not have my video on because I'm the person that you can tell what I'm feeling on my face. And I'm just like, poker face, cry.
No, I have no poker face, so I feel you.
Okay, getting back on track because I could talk and again when the energy and vibe is great, like you can just go off.
Exactly, and then you're just like, oh my gosh, wait, did we answer any of the questions?
Right. So your program starting April 1st. It's the launch of the program.
It starts April 30th. It starts April 30th. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe, I doubt it, but maybe if she has seats still open, you could still kind of like ninja your way in.
Yeah, you could like sneak in there, let me know.
Yes, and if not, again, she's going to have a wait list. Get on the wait list.
Exactly.
12 weeks is a short time. Like for some folks, it seems like a long time, but for me, it's like a short time.
Yeah, I think so. It's 12 weeks. Listen, we've all felt time like fly by. Mm-hmm. It is April of 2021. Mm-hmm. No, like 12 weeks is like a blip, you're just like, whoa.
Yes. So for those of you that are, commitment phobes when it comes to time, think about it that way. It is not a long period. And in that period, you're going to get so much, gain so much, and make some real change.
Yeah, and make some amazing connections. That's also just like so important. And commit to yourself. That's always what I tell people, right? I'm like, first, check in with yourself. Does it feel right? Mm-hmm. And second, like, gift yourself that for anything. That's what I tell myself when I spend so much of my money on personal development and wellness services, like
Me too.
Lot. And it's one of those that I'm always like, I am so happy to give you my card. Here, take my money because it's for me, right? Mm-hmm. And it's so hard because we're actually not taught to have that mindset, mm-hmm. That's why when people are at the beginning of their self-care personal development journey, I think it can be a little intimidating, like the cost of some services or programs. And they're like, oh, like, is it selfish to spend this much of myself? Or like, that mm-hmm. scarcity mindset does come up. And it's like, listen, there's anything in the world we should invest in above all, it's ourselves, right? Like whether that's mm-hmm. taking yourself on the vacation or gifting yourself that hot stone massage. Like I'm always on team mm-hmm. do it. If you have the funds available, do it. Don't save up for a rainy day. There. Yeah.
When it comes to self-care, because if you think about it, if you take time to really assess where your money goes, a lot of us will ditch $1,000 on an iPhone, or we'll ditch money on a handbag. This is for the ladies. We'll ditch money on some Louboutins or what have you, or, our attire, our makeup, shampoo, like all the things that we spend money on. Like if you add it up, it's insane. And when you think about self-development, we give less priority and place less importance on taking care of the self internally, mentally, physically, our soul, the heart. But you have to change that thought process, right? Why is our self-care the last thing on the list?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Why is self-care something we run to as a reactive measure rather than a preventative measure, right? It's like, why do we have to get to that stage of burnout, of heartbreak, of just like, really, really deep unhappiness to then invest in our self-care, right? Especially nowadays when we have the information and there actually is so much accessible self-care, right? When people come to me with the money thing, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you this list of resources that are free or low cost. I'm literally just going to give you this list of resources because it's not really about getting you to work with me, right? Like, as I said, it's not about that scarcity. It's about getting you to invest in yourself, because I believe that the world collectively becomes a better place when we're all showing up from our healthiest, fullest selves, right? So there are options out there. And I think as people begin to invest in like the small steps, then investing a large amount, 4 figures, into your personal development is nothing over the course of your whole life. Like the level of transformation. Exactly. I'm like, sure, like for what I'm going to get, how do I put a number value on myself? Like there's no value of how worthy I am. Like we're all invaluable.
That's so true.
Invaluable.
I love that you said that you provide resources, like when folks come to you where the money
yeah.
can be a roadblock, that you're able to offer that help. Not all coaches do that, so that's something to keep in mind. If a coach is doing that, they're really looking out for your best interest and to help you. And keep in mind too, coaches usually have there's like a lump sum payment. They may have payment plans, several different types. And some coaches, it doesn't hurt to ask, guys. Closed mouths don't get fed. Reach out to the coach and say, here's what I'm looking to do. Here's what could be in my budget, and see if they'll work with you in some way.
Yeah. Yeah. My first coach, she gave me a major discount on her services because I was just upfront with her. I was like, this is what I can afford right now. She went back. She sat with it. It felt like an okay number for her. And, we did the services, but you need to ask, right? Like sometimes we have that like money shame as well. And it's like, no, y'all, we know the world we're living in. We know a lot of people are struggling. I would rather someone come ask and tell me, because people can't guess anyone's financial situation, right? And even if someone's not right for me, yes, I can give them lists of resources. If it's not even about the money, it's just a vibe, I might be like, oh, like I'm not a good fit for you, but let me refer you to my friend Evelyn, right? Like she might be better for you. Like look for people who speak to you in that way, who empower you to make the decision rather than just like sell you on them. Because if there's one thing I tell everyone is that no one is the solution to your problems. You are. No person out there is your guru, and no one is going to fix you. When people come to me wanting me to fix them, I usually don't work with them. I'm like, no, I don't want that responsibility. First, you're not broken. Yeah. Second of all, I need you to believe in you more than I believe in you. And I believe in you a lot. Like it needs to be, we have to prioritize ourselves. We have to want it. No one can want it for us.
Exactly. It starts with you. Our roles as coaches, like she said, we're not here to fix you. We're not here to do the work for you. We're just individuals who can guide, provide accountability, and develop a strategy along with you. But all the work that happens has to stem from you. You have to want it more so. We can't want it for you.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Coaches, we're there to guide. That's the most important thing. And because, that's so important to me, because there's sometimes where like the answer that's correct for a client is not the answer that would be correct for me. And I also need to be able to check myself. Like you need a coach that can check themselves on that. That's like, I'm guiding you towards your answer, even if it's not the thing I would choose myself. Right. And that, I think, for coaches is a way that we coach ourselves, like in the process. It's like, okay, how am I checking myself in this? Which that's what I love about coaching. I feel like every time I come out of a session, I've like benefited myself. I'm like, is this selfish? Like I'm getting so much benefit out of like
you know what? That's something that I don't believe enough coaches talk about. The fact that even though you're working with a client and you're trying to help them on their journey, in some instances, if not all, you find growth in it yourself as a coach, and like it benefits you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you also attract the kind of clients you attract for a reason. Like there's something in that process that's healing for you and learning for you. And I think that's true of any job, if we choose to show up with that presence and that intentionality of like, like what am I gaining? What am I learning about myself in this process as well? And I think that sort of like a gripe that I can sort of come to with the coaching industry is when coaches present themselves as like all knowing and nothing to heal or fix. Like, I would never hire you. Like, would never hire you. Like, we're all like on a growth, you know, and I like people who can be honest about that. And even those reminders, you know, like you post those beautiful like affirmations and text reminders that I'm a coach and I'm still like, oh, this is so great to like remember. Like, I want to remember this, of course. Like, why not? You know?
No, there's truth in that, you know, guys, even though we've gone through, you know, our several paths, whether it's through accreditations, certifications, actual work that we've done, we have tools and resources that can help in situations, but we are human ourselves. So we will suffer from certain things at certain times. If you are not admitting that, if you are putting yourself out there as, to your point, all-knowing, superhuman, perfect, something's wrong with you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, all right.
I wouldn't want to work with you either.
It is, because we want like humans, right? Like we want real people. And I think that there's like that old saying that like your therapist has a therapist who has a therapist. Like, don't forget about that. We're all here on this planet together helping each other, right? Like the line on my newsletter that goes out, the closing line every week is "Thank you for walking me home," which is a Ram Dass like line, a Ram Dass quote. But it's like, yeah, like everyone that's in my space, on my newsletter subscribers, which by the way, guys, you should subscribe to. It's like my pride and joy. It's like my baby. Is my Friday newsletter. I'm obsessed with it. But it's that thing that's like, of course, if you're in my community, if you're in my space, whether I know you or not, you're part of my journey back home to myself. We're all here to help each other out, and none of us can go it alone. And I don't want to go it alone. Honestly.
That is a beautiful message, and it says a lot, right? Not just in how you engage, but the authentic, genuine connection that you're trying to make, whether they're your clients or not.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know there's going to be so many people that follow you on Instagram, right? Like you have a pretty decent size following that you might not even realize how much you're impacting their life or their day with what you're posting. And that always like strikes me when someone will come into my inbox and they'll be like, hey, I subscribed to your newsletter like months ago, and I just want to tell you that it's like changed my life and it's inspired me. And I'm like, oh God, I didn't even know you were reading it. But like, that's amazing. Thank you. And that always feels so good, because I think for everyone out there, right? Like everyone, not just coaches or healers, you are impacting people when you don't even realize you are, just by like being who you are. And, you know, why not be the best version of ourselves so we can inspire people to be the best version of themselves and just like be beacons for each other, all of us on the journey.
Exactly. You never know who's watching, who's listening. You know, you mentioned my following. Okay, it's a decent following, but guys, I wish you would engage more. Like, stop being shy.
Guys, engage with your shit. It's really good. Hello.
That's why I really don't look at those numbers. Those are vanity numbers, right? For me, it's about the outcome and result. Even this podcast is about the information that the audience can absorb. And for me, it's about genuine connections too, like connecting with you, Jessica. You know, you expressed interest in the podcast. You know, we got you on. And it's beyond that, right? I feel like I found somebody that I could genuinely share energy with outside of this.
Yeah, who you can have a place to stay when you come visit Cape Verde.
Hey! You guys heard it here. She camera tracked it.
I would not. I'm so the kind of person that I'm just like, let me invite everyone. And I think I got it from my mom, because she loves when we have friends over. She's like, guys, you should invite your friends to Cape Verde. And I'm like, okay, mom. Sure. But she just like loves it. Oh my goodness.
Your mom is awesome.
She is an amazing lady. But yes, I agree. Also, it's so funny. You mentioned the like guys engage more, which is so funny because it is this like really weird thing on social media, right? Like we're super aware that they are vanity metrics. Yes. And at the same time, there are people who like will see my stuff and like message me about it like on the side like months later, and I'm like, I would have no idea that you saw my like literally I would have no idea that you saw my stuff. Like, hello.
What post is this?
Like a like would be nice. Like you call yourself my friend? Hello. Oh my goodness. But it is because it also, I think it encourages us, right? Because like you said, we're human, to keep putting out work. Because when people engage, I'm like, yes, I want to create more content for my audience. Like when people engage, I'm like, okay, yes, this is resonating with them. Like I know what they want to hear or listen to. Because as we've seen, I am a talker. I can go on a tangent about anything. I'm like, like what do they want to hear me ramble about today? And it's like nice to know, you know, guys, it's so hot here.
She's fanning herself. No, but that's a good point. Like, guys, we put content out there that we think is going to help and inform, but you engaging tells us, yes, this content is what I want to see. And if not, let us know what you want to see more of.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Slide into our DMs. Like, you know, let us know. Be like, oh, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I have thoughts on everything. Let's go. Like, I could talk about buttons. Let's talk about buttons. Like, sure.
That's a good point to the DMs. Do not be afraid to reach out to people in their DMs. I don't care how famous they are, because you never know, right? They could be checking every single message, or if not in the moment, maybe later.
Yeah, exactly. And they might respond, you know, like you have no idea. We always see, did you see recently, I think it was like last week on TikTok, this guy posted this video about for his birthday, all he wants is to be best friends with Chrissy Teigen, and he just wants Chrissy Teigen to follow him. And like so many people tagged Chrissy Teigen, and she followed him. She was like, yes, I'm giving you what you want. And I was like, you never know. Like, that's amazing. That's a very Chrissy Teigen thing to do. But
that's very awesome. And I love her. I follow her too.
Me too.
Like, she's hilarious.
She's fucking hilarious. I love her.
And she keeps it real, which I really appreciate.
Yes, she does. I do too. Whenever she's talking about, like, people will come in and talk about something about how good she looks or their life, she'll be like, you have to realize I'm very rich. Like, I have a lot of money. Like, this is a result of my privilege. And I'm like, I really appreciate that honesty. Because the worst is when someone is like trying to like level with you, like we're the same, and you're like, we do not have the same issues. Like, we do not have the same issues.
Listen, if I had celebrity money, okay, I would be in the best shape of my life. I would have hair like down to my ankles.
Yes, guys,
amazing
Jennifer
Lopez. Makeup.
Yes, because Jennifer Lopez is in her 50s, and she looks better than I've ever looked in my life. And it's because she has a team to make sure she looks like that every day of her life.
Her body is ridiculous. I'm just like, you're 50, bro. Like, who are you doing this for?
Her body is insane. She is stunning. I'm like, holy, wow. Halle Berry, too, in her 50s. I'm like, how do you look like that? Like,
I hope that when I'm old and decrepit, I can at least stand upright and not be hunched over. That's my goal, okay?
All right, we're going to hold you to that.
Give me that.
Good posture. Holding you to good posture.
I don't know if I could, be like J-Lo or Halle Berry, but,
listen,
one can dream and hope.
Oh, my goodness. We should
everything takes work, okay? Like I'm saying that I can't be like J-Lo or Halle Berry. You could. If you want enough, you can definitely create that for you. I don't want it.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a priority, right? And it's like I'm a Taurus. I'm an indulgent person. I will never give up any food. I've already decided that.
Oh my gosh, you're a Taurus?
I am.
That's how we get along so well. I'm a Virgo, and we Taurus are like amazing.
I'm a Taurus sun, Sagittarius moon, Capricorn rising.
Capricorn as well. So you have two
Yeah.
signs that we gravitate towards.
Yeah. That earth. It's that earth connection.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, you guys. This conversation is going so well that we're just like, the flow is amazing.
It's great. People are going to love this, but let's get back on track.
Let's get back on track. So, Jessica, what is your main outlet? I know you have several outlets that you share and engage in, but do you have one that's like your main outlet?
Definitely Instagram and my newsletter. My newsletter is where I share, like, every week there's sort of like a mini coaching session / teaching, as well as a personal story and a roundup of resources.
Mm-hmm.
And then like a roundup of things that I'm offering that week or that month, if it is applicable. And like I said, my newsletter is my baby. Like, people love it. I love writing it. And Instagram is where I'm most active, right? Like, it's where you'll find me in the DMs. You can find me on Facebook if you want. Like, I'm also on Facebook. It's the same name. And I will accept your friend request. Just let me know where you're coming from, because your girl gets a lot of like creepy friend requests. And so, yeah, gotta be careful. I'm most active on Instagram. It is a public profile, and I like to share on my stories. And I'm essentially exactly as you saw me here today, kind of a mess, very loud, but very fun with a good heart.
You're not a mess. You're great. Stop it.
Thank you.
You know what? I'm going to follow the newsletter because I'm really curious about what you're putting out there. And, you know, a lot of times coaches will work with, you know, their friend coaches and learn from each other. So I'm really excited.
In my group program, one of my friends just signed up for my group program. She messaged me, she's like, I'm signing up, and she's a fellow coach. And I'm like, amazing. You're amazing. I, of course, want you in the program. Yeah, I do, you know, support your friends. I do that all the time.
Yes, that's important, guys. Support your friends if you're able to. And not just because you're friends, because you actually see value out of it too, right? It's a bi-directional thing.
And it's one of those like really weird things, I actually think, that has happened with social media and the rise of like influencer status, is that people are more likely to purchase a product or a course or a service recommended to them by an influencer than by someone they know. And I'm like, what is it? What do we attach so much value and expertise to 100,000 followers? Like, do we know where that value of expertise really lies in, right? Like, if you came to me and you're like, Jess, you have to take this amazing course, that means way more to me, because I'm like, okay, well, I know Evelyn. Like, I know we like vibe, so she gets it. So and it's a weird thing that I think has happened with social media, like influencing rise. Like, people are like, oh, this person recommended this thing, so I have to do it. And I'm like, well, did they get paid to recommend it first?
Is this a paid partnership?
Yeah. It's like, all right.
No, but you're right. We do tend to assign more value or authority when we see a profile that has 100,000 plus followers, or 1 million, you know, you think that they have more authority and are more knowledgeable because of those vanity metrics. But let's face it, if somebody has enough money, they can purchase enough followers. So you have to do your research.
Yeah, and they can make it happen. Have you seen the like staged photo shoot, like pictures? That's what we were talking about before, right? Now it's so easy to manipulate the truth. We know what people like. We know what people are going to follow. You have enough money. You invest 100K into making your life look like a life you think is going to draw in the followers, and you can be successful at that. So discernment, I think, is so important for people moving forward with this development of technology.
Yes, exactly. But the most important point, guys, is to follow and engage with us.
Long story short,
we promise we have content that is going to inspire, motivate, and inform.
Yes. And it's great.
You heard it here. Jessica's main platform is Instagram, right? Obviously, she's on Facebook and other platforms. We're going to link all of that in the details so you can follow, subscribe, sign up for the newsletter. I know I'm going to. We're already connected on Instagram, but this will be the next thing I do in our engagement. Yay! That way I can learn more. And y'all heard it here. I'm going to Cape Verde at some point. Just like any last words that you want to share with the audience?
No, trust yourself. That's it. I like to tell people that, remind people to trust yourself above anything out there.
Short and sweet. Trust yourself.
Trust yourself.
And like we said earlier, Jessica has this program that is launching. By the time this airs, it might be mid to end, but sign up for that wait list. Try to get a spot in the next one, because from what I've read so far and what she's explained so far, it seems like it's going to be a really great program.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And thank you so much, Evelyn, for having me on. This was such a wonderful way to spend my Saturday afternoon.
You are so welcome. I had a really great time. Like I said, the energy, the vibe was great. We got to share some amazing information, learn more about you. Those of you that are listening, I'm telling you, go to YouTube and watch the visuals, because you'll be laughing with us.
Yes, you will. You will.
Thank you so much for your time today and for joining me on this podcast and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a complete pleasure.
You are welcome. All right, guys, like I always say, preparation, accountability, execution, and resolve are keys to your success. Until next time.